begin to overcome those challenges and develop those relationships. Because the bottom line is, mentorships are basically relationships. It's about relationship development. And so we need to be very strategic about who we target for those relationships. And we need to understand how to develop those relationships so they can become mutually beneficial.
One of the things that we promote is not just, reaching out for one mentor, but having a board of directors.
Yes.
You really need input from various different directions in your career. So you may actually, especially if you're, in a supervisory role, right? You may be able to get some insight from your direct reports. I know some companies do what they call a 360, which means you got I can't talk tonight. You get insight from all the people that you interact with. Well, so up, down, across. So you want to be able to understand your management style and how you interact with others.
Yeah.
But I personally think, you should have a wealth of people. And I bet, I haven't done any study, but I bet if I looked at the most successful people, they have a network of people that they count on for a variety of things. Maybe some of it bleeds into their personal, but they have a large network of folks that they can call on any time that give them wise counsel on things. And they do that for others as well. I would be surprised, and I'm gonna look at these questions here and read those to you, but I'd be surprised if that weren't the case. We've got a question for Alicia. She says, how do you position yourself as a person of color, of value, to attract high quality mentors and persons for your personal board of directors? So how do you attract these folks?
Good question. And you kind of hit on it a little bit in your question when you said position yourself as a person of value, right? And because you really get, in terms of how you phrase that question, that is really about mutually beneficial relationships. And I agree that it makes sense to have this board of directors. So you want to have people with different skills that they can bring to the table and different experiences that they can bring to the table to help you. Now, in my book, I talk about this a bit in my chapter on, cracking the corporate code. And there are some specific examples of how women were able to overcome that challenge in that book. Now, there are a couple different approaches here. One approach you can try is something that's somewhat of an indirect approach, right? So the indirect approach is you target someone that you want to build this relationship with, and you just lightly ask them a question about a particular challenge that you're going through, or you want them to have give you some insight on this particular issue that you're facing. That's step one. Step two is that you actually implement what they tell you to do. Okay. That's
follow through. You gotta follow through. Yes.
Do that. Do the follow through. Then step three, this is probably the most important. You have to go back to them. Go back to them and tell them that you implemented what they told you to do, and then tell them the results. Now, hopefully it'll be good results, right?
Right.
So you tell them, because one of the things that some of the women that I spoke to were frustrated about in terms of mentoring relationships that they've had in the past that have not turned out well, is that they felt like they gave information, insight, spent time, took time away from what they were doing to do that. And then the person just disappeared. It's like poof, they never see them again.
Right.
So there's a disincentive for them to form those relationships with other people. So here's the thing. You have to go back and tell them that you implemented what they said. Tell them what the results are. 9 times out of 10, if they're good, they gave you good information, you'll get good results. And then they'll see that you're actually implementing. They'll see that you're getting better. Now, the next step in this process, you don't necessarily then go back and say, oh, let me be your mentor. No, you still take a chill pill for a minute, okay?
You send them a box and you say, will you be my mentor? Yes. No.
Like you did in elementary school. Don't do that. Don't do that. So then you wait for a little bit till another little issue. It doesn't have to be a long time, but wait for another little issue to come up. Go back to them again. Now they're really going to be even that much more open to you to give you more information, because they've already seen from the evidence that you listen to what they say, that you implement, and that you come back. All right. Go through that cycle with them again, and then they will see that you are a good sort of person to really make a difference. Now, what they'll also see is that you are a mover and a shaker in your company, because if you are implementing what they are telling you to do and you're getting good results, most likely your own stock is rising in the company because you are overcoming these challenges that you had. So you're becoming a standout. You're becoming a star in your own space. And everybody wants to be associated with a star. And that's the thing. You have to think about the self-interested aspect of this. So everybody wants to be able to claim that star. They want to take that star under their wing. So once they see that you are implementing, that you are becoming the star, that you are a standout, they will claim you. So it's very interesting. It's almost like using reverse psychology. So instead of you having to ask them to be your mentor, by them seeing what you're doing and that you're getting results based on their information, they're going to claim you, and that relationship will naturally develop emanating from them. So that's sort of one approach. We can get into some other approaches later on, but I just think that's a really, really smart one that I wanted to be able to relate to you.
I agree. I think I read today that, some of the challenges, I guess, white leaders had, and that they felt that, I think they were talking about Black women in particular, don't approach them for these opportunities to be mentored or sponsored, and the onus was on us. Well, if you want something, you're responsible for getting. So I do agree with that. But at the same time, if your organization has a challenge, sometimes people are intimidated by you.
Absolutely.
They're not always willing to go up. I can, recount the times in some of my organizations. It's always that fearless, she doesn't care person that's going to march right up to the CEO.
Yep.
How you doing this morning? What's going on? While the rest of us are behind her, like, don't do it, girl. Don't do it. Don't do it. So I think, to your point, it certainly is our responsibility, if that's what our desire is, to, further our careers by moving up and getting exposure. But I hope that BWISE can kind of be a voice in between maybe corporate leadership and the members, and saying that, hey, you can't sit in your ivory tower and do nothing and fold your arms and say, I'm going to wait for you all to come to me. Right. You can't do that and claim to have a viable diversity program. Right. So if your commitment is to being a diverse organization, then you have to make yourself available for these situations. Now, I will say, for those of us who are not familiar with engineering terms and whatnot, there are organizations that focus on early career STEM individuals. So there's SWE, Society of Women Engineers. There's NSBE, National Society of Black Engineers, American Chemical Society. Those are early career things. And so, the white executives, they know if they want to come and be seen, expose their brand, they can go to those events. But there really isn't a NSBE for old people or a Black MBA for old people. Once you're 35, where are you supposed to go, right? So, I hope that BWISE can kind of develop that relationship to say, hey, we've got these members over here, and I know you said you are committed to diversity, but your numbers are the same for the last 5 years. I would like to propose working together and helping do that. We'll do the work on our end, trust. We'll get the training. We'll do what we need to do, become leaders and all that stuff, but it can't be all one-sided, right? If we're doing the work and trying to get exposed and connected and considered for leadership opportunities, you have to meet us halfway. I think that's only fair. I want to make sure. Alicia said she can't get back on. Alicia, if you can't on your laptop, I know some people can come in through the app. So if you've got an iPhone, you can use that to come back in. Hopefully you can come back in. Dr. Claus says, sometimes we expect mentors to fix our situation or fill our gaps. However, we first have to figure out what it is that we actually want. We're all adults.
Oh God,
we're all adults, right? So you at the very need to know what your issues are and what you need help. And if you need help, there are some people you don't take that to, right? So if you've got a mentor or a person on your board of directors who's a senior leader, don't go to him with, you need to call a girlfriend or your cubicle mate or something. There are some things that you need to work out prior to approaching that particular mentor. Now you can have, like I said, all kind of mentors, but you also kind of know who to bring what. So if that leader says, I want you to go out and do X, Y, Z, and you leave his office and you're like, I don't know what he's talking about, do not go back into him and say, you don't know what he just said. You don't understand what he meant. You go and find someone else that you trust their opinion to help you with that, because, perception is reality, right? Yeah. And so their expectation, if you're bold enough to come, and interact with them and follow the instructions that you gave us, Dr. Avis, then you know what to do, and we're waiting on you to come back with the results. So yeah,
that is true. Exactly right. And I would also sort of, in terms of sort of focusing on the second half of her question here, I was really struck when she says that you have to figure out what it is that you actually want. That's a key one too, because one of the areas that we emphasize, and I emphasize a great deal in the book too, is this idea of developing a career plan. And that's how it starts. You started out by thinking, what is your ultimate goal about where you want to end up in your career, and then reverse it, for lack of a better term.
Right.
I'm gonna use a little bit, for lack of a better term, reverse engineer that. Right. So you start out.
Make you official engineer.
I'm an official engineer.
A diversity engineer.
Exactly. So know where you want to go. So. And then the way that you do that, the way that you reverse engineer it, is you don't sort of reinvent the wheel. You find out who has done it before you. What have they done? And you sort of do your due diligence around them, do your research around them, find out what they did, what sort of credentials did they have, what sort of specific projects did they work on, what sort of experiences did they have, who were their mentors, right? So find out as much as you can about those people who have been successful getting at where you want to go in your career. Right. And then just use that as your roadmap as best you can to get there.
Right.
But it all starts with knowing what you want. So you're exactly right there.
That's an excellent point. And one of our earlier blabs was with an incredible young lady. You may know her, Jenny Clark. You know Jenny Clark?
Jenny Clark, yes.
Yeah, she came on, and anybody who has a book, I lure them on with the promise to promote their book, and they come in, they speak. She did a wonderful job. People are still talking about that blab where she talked about career mapping. So that's one of the things that I try to incorporate in what we do. You've got to know what it is that you want. I don't care if you're 21 or 41, you have to take the time to figure that out, because there's so many of us who are 20 years into our career and we're like, I hate this. I do not want it anymore. And I just posted today a young lady who's an operations manager at a Fortune 500 company, and she sent in a video to Rachel Ray to be a contestant on her cooking show, and her video submission said, I've been doing this for 15 years and I don't want to do it anymore. How sad.
Wow.
How sad, on one hand, how sad is it that she spent 15 years doing something she didn't want to do, but now at least she's, converted, and now she calls herself the foodie engineer. So maybe we can have her on the blab and see what she did. But that's, like I said,
that's a great idea.
Yeah, it's one of the things that, I want to make sure that people are aware of. All this is great. This is, wonderful things about mentors and whatnot. But the foundation is knowing who you are, what you want to do. And then another thing, Dr. Avis, we talked about is lack of confidence. I see this so many times. And those of you who are on the phone can attest. Engineering and science fields attract a certain personality type. If someone did the studies, I'm sure we would be overwhelmingly introverts. Some of us, I think I'm probably an ambivert, but we're overwhelmingly independent. We like to work alone. And so I think that personality type also sometimes impacts what we do, but you have to know that. I had a young lady who was working on her PhD in chemistry. Dr. Qualls talked to her. She wanted to drop out of her program. And so I just did a really, quick, kind of Myers-Briggs type personality test. And I was like, did you know that, your career track may lead you into a laboratory for, 8 hours a day. And I said, based on your career, personality type, that may not be, the best fit for you. So you have to know, everything about yourself in order to pick a field that you're going to thrive in. And so
absolutely,
that's so important to do that. And then one thing I think it's interesting, and you guys can correct me, there are a lot of scientists, engineers who like to do it by themselves. I've seen this so many times. Listen, I believe in copy paste. Copy paste is I'm not Leonardo da Vinci. I do not have to create everything
copy and paste.
Scratch. I mean, I do not have to create things, but I see a lot of that in the STEM fields that no, I want to figure it out all by myself, or I want to create it by myself. And I'm like, you're going to delay the process at hand because you're trying to start something that has been created by many, many people prior to you. Yeah. So I want to encourage those of us who are like that. If someone, like Avis has said, if someone has already blazed that trail that you want to go, you don't have to go and, figure out, okay, I know she did it this way, but I'm going to do it that way. Go and see what she did. Now, if you say she's taking a turn I don't want to take, that's fine. Absolutely. Then you can go. We should stop trying to rebuild Rome. Yes. If something works, let's go with that. I see that a lot in science and engineering. I don't know if you guys agree with me, but I see that a lot, and people want to create it themselves, and that wastes so much time. And I know our struggles, we don't have that much time.
No.
Ursula Burns, who is the sole Black female CEO, stepped down, or is going to step down at the close of this fiscal year, and that's it.
Yeah,
I don't even think there are any in the pipeline.
No,
right? I don't think there's someone coming up. So those of us who are mid-career, we need to get going. Yeah. So you don't have time to be trying to reinvent the wheel. You need to try to figure out what Ursula did, right or wrong, so that we can help pull this next generation of young STEM workers up. I had a call yesterday with a young lady. She's 25. She's sharp. She's going to overtake a lot of us if we don't get moving. And I said, the goal was for us who came 10, 15, 20 years ahead to be so far in the pipeline that we could pull you up.
Yeah.
But we're getting clogged right in the center of middle management. I mean, I can't think of anyone off the top of my head that I personally know that is above a director level.
Yeah. Well,
right?
I looked at that data, for example, in the book, right? And not specific to your industry, but just overall in terms of executive and leadership positions across race and gender. And what I found was that we're seeing an inverse relationship happening right now, whereas since 2008, ironically, the year that this president took office, we've seen a consistent increase of white women in leadership positions.
Right.
Clearly now, still disproportionately, we're talking about white males pick up the vast majority, but what we have seen are still a consistent and steady increase in the percentage of white women in leadership positions. And at the same time, we've seen a consistent and steady decrease of people of color of both genders in leadership positions. So much so that what we're really seeing here is, I consider it a redefinition of really what diversity means in practice.
Absolutely.
Although when people talk about diversity, they talk about it as it relates to people of color and women. And when they speak of women, 9 times out of 10, they're referring to white women. Let's be very honest.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
So in practice, though, what diversity actually is, if you look at the numbers, is white women. It's in this era in which we're experiencing this population shift in the country, just generally speaking, where you're having more and more people of color. We're going to be a majority people of color nation probably within our lifetimes. And what's really interesting, even in that context, as it relates to leadership, it's when you have a situation where disproportionately those opportunities are almost exclusively going to white women. What we're seeing in practice is that leadership is becoming even more whites only in terms of its actual reality, actually how it bears out, even in an era of quote unquote diversity. So, we have to be very, that's why you have that clogged up middle area there, because despite our ambition, right, Black women are the most ambitious demographic group in the workforce. We're more likely than anybody else, even white men and white women, to say that we want a promotion. We're the most educated demographic group in America. We're the most likely women in America to work, so we're the most committed to the labor force. So we have all of these things going for us, but except opportunity, right? So it's really about pushing that envelope to really create the change that we need, that's going to sort of turn the tide on this institutionalized racism, and I believe that's going on, that has created a situation where even in this era, quote unquote, of diversity is still increasingly taking on a white face. It's a white woman's face, but it's a white face nonetheless.
Right. And, then when you add the LGBT, by and large, those are white males again.
Those are white men again.
Back to white men.
How we get back here? Yeah, so
how that happened?
Because look at what happened with Twitter. Look at what happened with Twitter when they got into that, that hot water, when they lost a couple of, amazing, high-ranking Black leaders, Black employees who left the company, and one of them did not take the package because he specifically wanted to be able to speak out and tell about how jacked up they were at Twitter in terms of their lack of commitment to diversity. Who did they replace him with? It was a white male, and their diversity leader who happened to be gay. So that, it's interesting that these changes that we've had in our laws to create these opportunities for everybody are changes that, by and large, Black people fought in the streets in the same way that we're doing right now, lived and died for, right? And right now, it's interesting that our ability to tap into that resource is diminishing, it seems, with each and every day.
Right. Do you think we've become comfortable as a larger Black middle class has moved into corporate America? And so, those of us who have 6-figure jobs and, 2 cars and vacation, we have what we have. So, there's no racism. You hear white people say frequently, this is a post-racial society. And I can, take you to some places in Mississippi, and that is not going to be the case. So, we can't just a blanket assume that, because, and I can't think of too many Black people who are not proud of President Obama's election into that office. But to your point, I bet you if you looked at a lot of data points, there probably were a lot of things that have regressed in the last 8 years.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
And that's not an accident, right?
It's not an accident. It's a historical pattern. It's a historical pattern, to be perfectly honest. Every time that we've seen Black advancement in our nation's history, that was quickly followed by white backlash. So you look at the Emancipation Proclamation, right after that, you had the Black Codes. You look at Reconstruction, right after that, you had Jim Crow. You look at the Brown v. Board of Education decision that was supposedly leading to the integration of schools with all deliberate speed. And right after that, you had massive resistance, right? So every time that you have an example of Black advancement, you have white resentment and backlash. And what we're seeing right now is resentment and backlash to having a Black presidency. That is exactly what we're experiencing right now in our country. That has a lot to do to explain the whole Trump phenomenon. He really is the personification of white resentment and backlash to a Black presidency.
Absolutely. I think that has pulled the covers off of so many seemingly innocuous white people, your next door neighbor, your cubicle mate, who, I believe in equality for all. And, I support diversity.
And theory. That's a good point.
And theory. In theory, and until it comes to your house, right?
Yeah.
Until your daughter marries someone outside of the race.
Yeah.
So, part of the reason, I wanted to talk to you is this going to impact those of us, especially in STEM fields? Because, accounting, I don't know what the numbers are. Let's say accounting is 65% white males. But by and large, STEM fields are 90%. They're in the 90% STEM fields. So as Black women, because that's, the demographic that this organization supports, what should we do? Should we reach out more and seek out white mentors? I mean, are we part of the solution? Can we, certainly in corporations, both further our careers and also maybe bring about some change in our organizations by reaching out almost across the aisle like we're in Congress, but reaching out to our white brothers and sisters, both to, like I said, improve our lot in the career, but also does that help? Does that help if we're more proactive in our relations with them?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that question. It's a brilliant question. And the short answer to that question is yes. You definitely need to make sure that your board of directors, your team of mentors, what I call your career dream team, whatever you want to call it, needs to be diverse. It can't only be made up of other Black women. And it has to. Now, obviously, it's important to have that safe space. That's why it's beautiful to have an organization like this, because we need a space that we can go to where you don't have to explain stuff.
Right.
People get it. Okay. And you can just relate to one another and release and let go and have somebody understand without them looking at you sideways. Right. So it's really important to have those relationships, those safe spaces, and those mentors who just get it. But in addition to that, you need to also make sure that you have mentors that don't look like you. You need to also reach out to those white male executives who, for some reason, they know that they don't have great relationships with a diverse group of people, but they're not making that first move. Well, you need to figure out how to make that first move to make it happen. And at the end of the day, it will benefit you, but you have to do that. You have to make sure to sort of seed and nurture those relationships with a variety of people. And one way to do that, and I know this is something that you mentioned, that a lot of people in your field are introverts, and I get that because my youngest son is an introvert, and he's very interested in science and technology. Science is his favorite subject. So I definitely think that your personality assessment, it bears true with my son.
Right.
But and he would my son, and I know knowing my son, I know how you might receive this advice that I'm going to give you guys, but I'm going to give it to you anyway. Okay. And I hope that you take me up on it. One of the ways that you build those relationships with people that are different from you is whether or not you want to. And I know it might not necessarily be your idea of fun, but you're going to have to hang out with them a little bit after work. Okay. Yes. That's just the reality. Okay. Yes. So when they go to happy hour or go play golf or whatever it is that they do after hours, and it's a group of people from the job to do it, you need to figure out how you can make time, even if it means getting a babysitter every now and then to go do it. Because here's the thing that you get from those sorts of situations.
Right.
You get to not only meet those people sort of outside of work. That's where oftentimes you get those gems. You get that bit of information that you're not necessarily going to get in the office space, especially when people start getting a couple of drinks in them. They start loosening up. Right. They start telling things.
That's right.
And when I'm saying, I'm not talking about personal stuff. Who cares about that? But I'm saying, some of the people that I interviewed mentioned that that's how they found out if they were being paid fairly. Okay. That's how they found out what specific projects were good projects and what specific projects at their jobs were things that were going to take them nowhere in their career. Right. So that's why they got the good information. They got the good information, that intelligence, right? The intelligence. They got that from these sort of non-threatening social situations. Right. And so, you need to make that time to socialize outside of the office with a diverse group of people from your office, to start to get those relationships, and then to start to use that think of it as intelligence gathering. Okay. Right. Use that as an ability to get that information that you're going to need to advance your career and to help you figure out, what are the best paths for you to take, and help you to figure out, get the information that you need, so that when you're in your next salary negotiation, you make sure that you're moving in a direction that is on par with everybody else, that sort of stuff. Okay, makes sense?
Absolutely. I've said this before, and I've done this. My method would be, I would stay long enough so that everyone saw me and knew that I had been there. Yeah. You can't just run in. Hey,
yeah.
Like, did I see Avis?
Yeah, you can't be a blur. You can't be.
I think she was here.
The flash. You can't do that.
Yeah, you have to tell a joke, or you have to do something memorable so that they know she was there. I know she was there. I remember she was there. And then I think you have to look at that as an extension of your workday. I know a lot of us say,
Absolutely.
you know, listen, I've worked with them for 8 to 10 hours a day. I do not want to spend another hour socializing with them, but I can promise you, those of us who do that have built a relationship, and they're in the inner sanctum, if you will, and you know their careers show it. I mean, you cannot
Absolutely.
do that, but there's
Absolutely.
already a perception, especially with Black women, right? The angry Black woman. There's already the
Yes.
perception that we're not part of their tribe. We don't have a cultural fit. So that reinforces everything that they already
Right.
think.
Right.
I have been to hockey games. I hate hockey. I have been to baseball games and took a book. I read a book at a baseball but I was there. I was there. Nobody can say I was not there. And so I think as you move up the ladder, there are going to be things that you have to do. I think many executives, I'm sure you can see this, there are many things that they have to do, right? Someone told me once that at a certain level, you have to go to executive school where they teach you never be seen with a drink in your hand, never be seen with a cigarette. You know, there are things that you learn. You know, if you get very high in the organization, most likely as a male, your wife won't work, right? Because she has to be part of your package. She's an extension of your brand and you represent the company. And at those very senior levels, you know, it has to be polished and primed and all of that. So I would encourage us to think that way about ourselves. What is our interaction or non-interaction impacting our career? If you just want to be a wage earner and you're satisfied with where you are, that may be fine, but I can promise you in the coming years and decades, that's not going to be the case. You know, for those of you who have not heard with machine learning, I don't know if you know what machine learning is, Dr. Avis. Machine learning is basically where they're teaching robots to be able to think as humans. So right now, a robot can only do what you program it to do. It's artificial intelligence. So right now, you have to tell a robot, pick up that box. So machine learning is saying, pick up the box if it's 90 degrees outside and you hear a knock at the door. So, you know, these positions, you know, it's just like the typewriter repair person, right? There are no more typewriter repair persons. So you can never be still, especially of people of color. You can never be still in your career. And one of the things we're going to talk about in the coming weeks is entrepreneurship. I fully believe that corporate America is a means to an end. It is not designed for you to stay 50 years. You're supposed to, the day after you graduate, you write it down and figure out, okay, I need to work at a Fortune 500 consulting company for 2 years. Then I need to go back, get my MBA. Then I need to come back into corporate America and I need to work as a manager for this many years. So by the time you get to 20 years, you have everything you need to hang out your own shingle. Now, I know entrepreneurship is not for everyone, but I'm telling you what I'm seeing, you know, in my research, the world is changing such that, you know, there are going to be very few employees, meaning people that are full-time workers at companies who get benefits and insurance and stock options. This generation could care less about a pension. They don't even know what that is. So we're going to the freelance and contract worker model. And so I encourage people, if you don't think you're an entrepreneur, get to be one. And that entrepreneurship, Avis, I'm sure can tell us, is the only path to wealth anyway. So, you know, if you have aspirations of, you know, doing what you want, you know, very few people in corporate America ever make it to the C-suite. And, you know, I can almost promise you don't want to do what they did to get there.
Absolutely. And I really think that's really one of the reasons why Black women are the fastest growing demographic of entrepreneurs in the country. It's because of the issue that you just mentioned about us being stuck in this sort of middle position, that pipeline. And we know that we're capable of more. We know that we can do more. We know that we're smart. We know that we are hardworking. And we know that we're not getting paid what we work.
Right.
And that's the bottom line, right? So really to be able to have that opportunity to have no limits on your possibilities professionally. It's really about writing your own checks at the end of the day, and that's through entrepreneurship.
Oh, so good. Thank you. I was going to pull it up on my phone. Yay! It's a phenomenal book, and I'm not just saying that because she came on to support us. It really is a wonderful book. For those of you who are really interested in reading things that are beneficial for your career, I would encourage you to get it. It's wonderful. Tell your friends. Like I said, it's on the website, Dr. Avis, so it will be there always for people to go and get it. I don't know how that works with Amazon. If you get $1 out of every tweet, you'll get it. Okay, as long as you get the credit.
And today is Amazon Day. Actually, today is Amazon Day, you guys. Actually, to tell you the truth, today is Amazon Day. So if you go on so you should be able to get some sort of discount probably today since it's Amazon Day, right? So you can to get it. The best way to get it though is because this will take you directly to it. You can go to blackwomenlead.com, and there is a button there. It puts you right through to Amazon, exactly where this is, and you can grab a hard copy or you can grab Kindle version. And also, if you'd like to, you can sign up and get the companion journal that goes to this book. It's a free companion journal that will be delivered to you right to your email. So when you're on that page, blackwomenlead.com, you can download the free companion journal for the book and then click through and you can get it right through on Amazon. If you get it before midnight, you'll still make it.
You guys heard that. Oh, she says, is there an audio book? Is there an audio version?
There is no audio book yet, but I'm working on it. Maybe.
All right, that sounds like it's in the works. So yes, please, I those of you you've been on the Blabs before know that I read the books, and I don't think I've had a book yet that I didn't recommend, but this one I highly recommend for those of us who are trying to make it up the corporate ladder. You've got a roadmap, so I highly encourage you to get this book. And Dr. Avis, do you have speaking engagements that we can see you in the next couple months?
I do.
Where are you going to be? Are you coming to Houston?
Oh, I have several. I know that there are probably a lot of. Invite me to Houston. Somebody needs to invite me to Houston. I do not have any out in Houston. I'll be going to St. Louis next week, actually, for the National Bar Association. I'll be speaking there. In October, I'll be heading out to the National Black MBA Conference. So if you are anybody with MBAs online right now, I'll see you in October in the wonderful city of New Orleans. I'd go there for any reason, actually, but I happen to be going there.
Okay.
for that. I'll also be going to the National Association of African Americans in Human Resources. That will be in Atlanta also in October. And going back to August, I forgot about this one. I'll be in Raleigh, North Carolina at the Sister Summit Expo. So I'll be the main stage keynote speaker for the summit. So you'll be able to see me there as well. And one more, I just got a lot of things just coming out all out of order. A. Philip Randolph Institute National Conference in Detroit, also in August. I'll be speaking there as well. So if you're in Detroit, Raleigh, Atlanta, New Orleans, St. Louis, those are some of the cities I'll be coming to in the recent future.
All those locations and no Texas stop, not even Austin.
So hey, invite me.
We'll talk. We'll talk offline. I've got a couple things I'm working on. I may have to put our heads together. We have to put our heads together. So we've been doing all.
We can be like Pinky and the Brain.
That's right.
I'll be Pinky. You can be the Brain.
How about that? So we've been talking for the most of the hour. Thank you guys for the wonderful comments. I see Alicia has a few. Any questions? Because we started a little late, so I don't have a problem with going over a little, but I don't want to keep Dr. Avis too long because she's on Eastern time. So what questions do you have before we wrap this up? And Dr. Avis, I'm sure we would love to have you back. So if you come back,
absolutely,
we'll have you whenever you want to come. I'll kick somebody off. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, my oldest son is an engineer.
So what discipline?
You guys will have to mechanical engineering.
Y'all are like, we don't care about mechanicals. No, I'm just kidding. Tamara, my good friend, is a mechanical. I'm a chemical. Alicia, what are you? I don't know what she is.
Oh, you're chemical. You gonna blow?
I'm gonna blow it up.
What you do? Okay?
I'm gonna blow it up. Tamara's gonna put it back together. We work as a team.
I think my littlest will probably go towards computer engineering because he's like into, coding and video games and all that good stuff.
Okay. Oh, I stand corrected. She is an aerospace and industrial.
Aerospace. You go do that thing,
That's right.
sister.
That's right.
You're gonna get us to Mars. She's gonna get us.
That's probably where we'll have to go if Donald Trump gets in office.
Yeah. Oh God!
Oh, we'll have to pick up and move.
Oh God, I'm really going down.
Oh my gosh,
yeah, I'll be on that first ship to Mars.
That's right. That's right.
Like, save a seat for me, sis.
Well, if your son needs anything, is he staying local?
He goes to Virginia State University. Okay. So he's and right now he's home for the summer, but he'll be heading back for his sophomore year.
If he needs anything, we've got a vast network. I'm sure we've got somebody who's on the faculty at that university. If we need to change a B to an A or a C to a B, call us.
The Black Women Engineers Network. I'm loving it.
Just make a phone call. Yeah. DE.
This is gonna
That's
work
right. DEW. Yeah, make that happen. So, I promise I wouldn't keep you too long. But before we go, does anyone have any more comments? And one last thing: Are you coming? Are you going to be on Roland Martin anytime soon?
I'm typically on the show weekly, but the days vary. So right now, I was just on Monday. And so I'm not sure what day I'll be on next week. Normally the producer reaches out to me like a day or two before, and then we figure out where's the best spot in terms of availability. So unfortunately,
not yet.
DVR,
okay, how about this? If you guys will go and connect with Sister Scholar on Twitter and Periscope, it's the same one, right?
Twitter. Mm-hmm.
Twitter and Periscope.
Exactly. Sister SISTAH Scholar.
That's right. Make sure you have that H because that's somebody else. That's right. Somebody else.
That's right. To get me, it has to be
That's right. Sister. That's right. That's right. And connect with her on LinkedIn. She, shares a lot of really interesting things on LinkedIn. I try to like them. And the one thing about what I do at BWISE, I read a lot. It's probably not much I don't read. And so I always try to push that out to the community so that you guys can be aware of things that are coming up, things that are happening in the world that are not hitting mainstream media. So please connect with Dr. Avis because she does the same as well. And then we do have one question. So we have, can you speak on the imposter syndrome and the best way to overcome it? And what is that? Is that you think you're good, but you're not? What is the imposter syndrome?
You downplay how good you are. If I'm interpreting it correctly, it's like you think you're an imposter. You think that you really don't belong to be where you are, even though you have all the credentials, even though you have the intelligence, even though you have the ability. You don't feel comfortable in that ability. You don't have that confidence. You think you're an imposter. And I think one of the best ways to overcome it, sis, is I'm a big lover of history. I think that you have to become intimately familiar with your history and understand how powerful we are as a people and how brilliant we are as the people, and understanding that the original scientists on Earth look like you and me. Okay. So you are exactly where you're supposed to be. And when you have a great understanding of your history, I think it makes it easier for you to accept and really come into owning your own greatness.
Right.
Because the reality is that we live within a broader culture that tells us the opposite every time. So you have to deprogram yourself of that.
Right.
By arming yourself with that information.
Right.
So become a lover of your history, and in that you will discover your own greatness.
Absolutely. And those of you who are connected or in the LinkedIn group, Dr. Avis, hopefully you are. If not, I'll make sure you get invitation. I post several things each week. Of course, I do, what's going on in the world in relation to STEM jobs, but I do you know her? Which is, could be anyone, academia or business. I think I just posted the one I told you about the foodie engineer, because how else would you have known that there is a Black woman who calls herself the foodie engineer? But I also do Boss Ladies, which are Black women in science and engineering who are entrepreneurs. And then for Black History Month, I challenged myself to each day post one historical Black female in science and engineering. And I learned a lot myself. There was ladies doing things back in the early 1900s I'd never heard of. They've never taught that in school, even in Black Month. I've never heard of some of those ladies. So, for those of you all interested, go back, to my early posts. You can see, the incredible ladies who've done things. And so whenever people say, well, there's not that many, African-American women, who've, really made contributions to science, I say, you're a lie. The devil is a lie. You can go to my website or to LinkedIn. You can see it for yourself. Okay. All right. You don't have to believe me. Look it up. Check it out. So with that, any other questions? Any other questions? Going once, going twice? We'll just have to have you back on. I tell people who've never done that before, it's so much fun. And I don't know what your experience is on Periscope, because I have to use solitary. I usually watch you. I watch you while I'm walking the dog, watch you walking your dog. So
I haven't done any dog walking scopes in a minute. I have to get back to dog walking scopes. I'll be done.
Right. So I usually watch you on Periscope, but the thing I love about Blab is this is so interactive, especially when you have all 4 seats filled, and you've got a lot of conversations going here and there, and I think it allows people to feel connected to the group. Periscope is just one camera, so I like Blab for that reason. So I hope you will come back and join us another time. So I'm going to say going once, going twice. If nobody has any more questions, we're going to wrap up this episode. And thank you all for coming. I know I changed it up a little bit. I sent the email out this morning and said, listen, we're going to do a little something different because it was on my heart, and I just couldn't have a Blab talking about important things and not address that. So thank you, Dr. Avis, for sharing a little bit about what you learned today. I think we're all going to be prayerful of the world that things can turn around, certainly here very shortly.
We got to make it happen. All I'm going to say, we got to make it happen. We can't wait for the powers that be to do it. We got to make it happen. As always, Black women, we've always been on the forefront of change, and we got to continue.
We do the most with the least.
Absolutely.
That's right. So, okay. Says, thank you, beautiful Black women. Lots of jewels shared. Thank you, Alicia. Welcome to the group. I'm so glad that you joined us. Mazabetta, thank you. She said this is definitely a great way to connect and share. Thank you, everyone who's joined us tonight. Thank you who are watching. We'll have a next one. I try to do this once a week. Sometimes I get sidetracked or something comes up and we can't do it, but I promise to, on a regular basis, at least several times a month, do this because it's important. I think Dr. Avis spoke to that. Communing, fellowshipping with each other, even if it's just a matter of like, you won't believe what they did today. Let me tell you. I think that
we need that system.
Absolutely. You need, and someone spoke to isolation. I think that's the issue. So many of us feel isolated. And now hopefully with BWISE, you guys don't have to feel that way. Even if you're in remote locations, everybody's not in Atlanta, New York, DC. Some of you are all in Nebraska and, other places. So hopefully this will be a resource for everyone of color in STEM. And I think all of you for participation tonight. I think the fabulous Dr. Avis. So now, Dr. Avis, you're going to have a whole bunch of new joiners or what do you call them? Tweet members? I don't know what you call them. Followers. You're going to have a whole bunch of followers tonight. You're going to be like, oh, my numbers are really going up. So thank you again. I will post it on the website, and then I'll put it on YouTube for those of you who want to catch the replay. I captured all except the first part. So I left that first part out about your White House visit off. That's between us.
Okay.
You weren't here. If you weren't here, you don't know about it. You need to stay tuned, come in and find out what we're talking about. So once again, I want to thank you all for attending. Dr. Claus, thank you. I'm so glad you're able to participate. Now I'm going to have her on now. She doesn't know. She's already let me know she likes this platform. So she's going to be on probably in September. Awesome. Thank you all for participating. Have a wonderful night, and stay tuned for our next Blab. All right, everybody. Good night. Bye.
Good night, guys. Bye.